All right. Once again, this is Claude Ketchum. Okay, Abdul Kabir. Back for another review. Okay, this time, this right here is for Rapido's version of the Chicago Metra gallery cars. Mainly, I went down to Train World in Brooklyn to go and get the Metro North Condot cars, but they're not even ready yet. They're still in the factory. They should be touching down sometime towards Christmas. But I had this pre-ordered, and I went on ahead and got down there, and I got it, picked it up, and I forgot. I even put this in the back burner, but I couldn't, and stuff. They held it for me, so I'm gonna be one of the first to go ahead and make a review of the Budd stainless steel double-decker gallery cars. Okay. Right now, I got one out of the box. Okay. And this right here is the cab car. So we're going to go ahead and shoot for the cab car. So real quickly, let's get a focus on it. Okay. Unlike the Nippon Sharyo cars from Atlas, which is a much more newer and updated car, which was released in 2002 for the actual Nippon Sharyo cars. These cars are the previous models that still serve to this day, along with some Pullman standard coaches for service out of Chicago into the suburbs. The suburbs, southwest suburbs, the western suburbs, the northwestern and northern suburbs of the Chicagoland area. Unlike the Nippon Sharyo cars offered by Atlas, of course, Rapido has a much more detailed feature of these cars. So, just like the cars, and like what's different that we notice is the start from the bottom, the plow. Okay, it has the old graded plows, something from Budd as well as the Pullman Standard use these Fort Great plows right here, as well as you have the hep cables in the front on each side. You have a couple of lift bar. Okay, they use their McCartier couplers, and you have a bar as well into the storm door. Now, just like Rapido products with their cars, they do have the wand, the magnetic wand for the marker lights if the car isn't trailing. And if you wave it above the car in push mode, you can send the car. Give me a minute. There we go. You got the headlights, the ditch lights at the bottom, and you have the Mars gyro light. Just like the Atlas car, you do have the cab interior, but this car right here has a much more detailed interior. You have the control stand as well as the engineer's seat. You have the caged horn at the top as well, and a conductor side. This car also has the side view mirrors on each side. Okay, going down, you have the junction boxes, sanding lines. You have the trucks and stuff. This does not have the spinning bearing caps, but the aesthetic is aesthetically pleasing. And as you look, it has the small slit windows with a much more detailed interior for each of the seats, the lower level as well as the upper level. These cars came from the Budd built several of these cars, mainly for the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy. Eventually, from Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy, Burlington Northern, when they was incepted into service, took these cars for the Chicagoland area to serve the former Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy raceway tracks. These cars right here also feature the upstairs, downstairs apparatus, as well as stairs leading to the top level. In the gallery cars are specifically good as each car can have a conductor, one conductor to go ahead and collect the tickets throughout each cars. Right here in the middle has the partition for lower platform level boarding and detraining as well, with the single double leaf storm door. In the bag, in each box, you have a poly bag, one for 2 long shank couplers for those who's using tracks as tight as 22-inch radius curves or tighter, mainly 22-inch radius. I operate 24 and beyond inch radius curves, so I usually do close coupling. This also the poly bag has a dummy plug for those who do direct current trackage. If who those who doesn't have DCC equipped it yet. It also has other MU plugs, as well as the air hose, the air train line hoses. You can still find a lot of these cars serving the Chicagoland area. It's also mixed in with the Nippon Sharyo cars. So you'll see a whole lot of these cars, usually from 2 cars to 7 car train sets throughout the Chicagoland area. You'll see a lot of these cars now on the raceway track, which this car serves on the BNSF railway tracks all the way to Aurora, Illinois. I bought the 3-pack initially, and eventually, as time goes, I may add on it to my freelance railroad to get a blank car, something to go ahead and go along with my freelance railroad, which also mixes in with the BNSF cars. I'm also waiting for the Winnebago cars, the Winnebago locomotive, to come with this engine, to come with the cars for a decent 7-car train set, prototypically for the raceway. Other lines that use these cars are also for the Rock Island line, as well as the Western line. Again, a lot of these commuter coaches you can find in the Chicagoland area, in the Northwestern, the Milwaukee line, as well as the Northern lines, formerly Chicago Northwestern. In each box, you have storyline of what these cars are about, where they came from. When you get the time, go ahead and you can read the story about the prototype history of these cars, how to remove the shell if you want to go ahead and put people inside, as well as conductor. On the back side, this is where you would wave the wand to go ahead and use for the lights. Now, for the lights and special effects, the horn chime, the bells, as well as the spinning Mars light and the alternating ditch lights, you would have to purchase a separate decoder for that. Also, the car is also equipped with a speaker, so that way you can hear the bell clanging. Well, just with any of my purchases from Rapido, I usually get 3 packs, and then eventually, as time goes, I add on. Similar to my Metro North set, which prototypically Metro North uses a 7-car consist, 1 locomotive. I will be doing a review on the Metro North Conduct cars, which differ from the Bombardier-built Comet cars, which you'll find on the Hudson and the Harlem line. No 2 cars are alike. Of course, the Conduct cars have the red stripe, as well as the Comet cars, which you'll find with the blue stripes. Either one of the cars can be interchanged when mixed into the consist, as all share the same under the same agency, pulled by 1 locomotive, pulled towards the suburbs and pushed into Grand Central Terminal. Of course, the MTA, Metro North, is under the arm of the MTA banner. Chicago's Metra, which is employed by several different railroads of the Union Pacific, BNSF, CPKC, formerly Canadian Pacific, and Kansas City Southern. Norfolk and Western once had the commuter agency at one time, as well as Amtrak, which had a commuter service into the northwestern suburbs of Indiana. However, all service is within intra-Illinois. You also have the gallery cars, the electric versions, on their electrified Highliner line. These cars, double-decker gallery cars, is good to minimize the traffic of using long consist trains from 2 to 7 cars rather than using single level to 14 cars. It makes much more sense by using double-decker coaches. As you see between the diaphragms, it's a decent coupling in between where you could still negotiate a rather gentle and somewhat a decent radius curve. The undercarriage of each car is well detailed with the junction boxes, separate cabling, different electrical cabinets, and all kind of tanks, reservoir, air tanks, and all. The outside of the trucks is also well detailed. Each of the wheels does pick up electricity to power the cars. Once sat on the tracks, you will go ahead and get power. When you are not in service, once the car is done with service for the night, as typical per agency, you can wave the wand to cut the car off. Again, you wave the wand above the coaches to cut the car off. There's a toggle, a magnetic toggle above the car. Sometimes it gets a little stubborn. Here we go right here. Each of the cars prototypically, just like the actual commuter trains, does have green tinted windows, as you see per prototype. They do have the RTA logo as well as the BNSF logo on the side, swooshing. There's the number plates for each of the roster numbers of each car. Again, I have 3. Right now I'm displaying 2, so I'm not going to tarry too long on this review. As you'll see, plenty of people eventually, as time goes on, will have their review. In trailing mode, for those out there who do not want the decoder, but just want a typical commuter train to come and go as per their operation service, you could go ahead and wave the wand, and as the train is leaving Chicago Union Station or Ogleville Station on the eastern side of Chicago, you could have the marker light as the train is leaving. Or if, like I'm going to do Union Station as people are departing the train, the marker lights go as the train is out of service. And when out of service, all the lights cut off except the marker lights. When in service, in time for service, all lights will cut back on, as well as the door, one leaf will open up on per prototype. Passengers can board in between the cars, the center line, to a stairway, all the way, and also to the stairways to the top. Reason being, just like New York City, why they have elevators, so that way one can observe their neighborhoods as the train traverses the countryside or the suburbs. This right here, again, is to minimize traffic and going through the suburbs without having to interfere with highway traffic, and the highway traffic and road traffic does not interfere with train travel. This set right here set me back about $326 out of Train World. I plan to get more, as well as more Amtrak equipment for the Midwest, and also more Amtrak equipment as per in New York City, meaning the line out there, which in Union Station, Chicago Union Station, which also rosters and features equipment coming from New York for the Lakeshore Limited, which one part goes to Boston and the other part goes to New York City through Patrick Moynihan Station, combining at Rensselaer and making one long train to Chicago, where you will find these cars. The facility, which is on one side of the Amtrak facility, also in the Chicagoland area. Unlike the Nippon Sharyo cars, you have these graded snow plows in the front. During the wintertime, Usually they light the tracks a fire, a blaze, to go ahead and melt the tracks so that way the switches do not freeze. They have different apparatus because of the cold weather area within the Chicagoland area throughout the different junctions. Just like a double-decker car, cars ride very smooth. They're free rolling when you're moving along the tracks. The cars have a decent weight. The coupler heights is pretty decent. And again, it's rather close coupling. In a typical engine such as Atlas's MP36 PH-3C locomotive, and any power that you have, be it an F40PH or the F40PH-2M that is upcoming. Okay, you could match that with the previous F40 models that Rapido once had. A typical consists of 7 cars, 5 to 7 cars, and how many cars you want as per your layout. You can also purchase each of these cars separately, so that way you can lengthen or shorten your train, depending per your operation. Eventually, these cars will get mixed in as per prototype of the actual layout of my trains. The Nippon Sharyo as well as Burlington cars. You'll find all these cars mixed in together. It's just to get the people where they need to go. Unlike the Atlas Nippon Sharyo coaches, these Budd and Pullman cars does feature a cab interior for the engineer as well as the motorman. On each side, these cars does feature an upstairs and a downstairs interior. And again, you have a lot of undercarriage interior under the under the cab cars, as well as sanding lines and certain different apparatus, the differencing between the cab coach and the coaches that come into the 3-pack. Not going to tarry too long with these cars. Again, I'll do a visual comparison on another video, so I'll need everybody to stay tuned. Like, share, write it, subscribe,
comment,
and love these cars right here. These are one of the best cars out there. Of course, I've been purchasing Rapido products as you looked at my previous reviews over time. Okay, by far, much of my passenger equipments are of that of Rapido, as they have no chance of derailing. They track very well, and again, stuff, man, you get a lot of bang for your buck with these cars. So, till next time, this is Abdul Kabir, aka Claude Ketchum, and I'll see you again.